up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome. So I'm sure that we all have like a group of people, not a group, maybe one or two people that we stalk on social media every now and again because we want to know what's up with their lives, because that's kind of the point of social media, right? And for me, I am interested with what these people are reading. So the first one we're gonna start with Anya Taylor Joy. She has been in a lot of my favorite movies and TV series. Queen's Gambit is like one of the only ways you can make chess interesting for me, and she's got really great taste in books. So here are the ones that I've gathered and found interesting for me that I would like to pick up at some point in the near future. With book number 1 being The Lonely City by Olivia Laing. It's very interesting because it kind of is like a memoir, but also like she's added like a bunch of different perspectives into her writing. The reason why I found this interesting was because New York City, sort of a place I've always wanted to go to because they have the best like book community. Now again, I've never actually read the thing, but from the little snippets and things that I saw, makes sense why people will be really intrigued, because when you mix nonfiction with poetry, it sort of adds an element of artistic value. Anyways, I think this is a really interesting book. I also really like the cover that it's on. And yep, second one will be My Dark Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Now, this book specifically gave me the first impression of a very disturbing tale, which is unfortunately not a very uncommon thing. This has happened. That's how she was inspired. It's a manipulative figure, an older male predator who comes into a young, wide-eyed, innocent girl because he can, and also because of the age and the inexperience. They use that against these girls, making them feel like that these guys are trustworthy and they're there for them, they can listen, they know what it's like. It's kind of a resemblance to Lolita, which is a movie that I watched about a few years ago, and I don't know, that meddled with my psyche a little bit, and I just couldn't. It made me feel very uneasy for a few days because the idea of this happening to a lot of girls out there, and this is probably still happening to some people. I personally don't know any, but I know it is. That's how stories like this could come up, because they are based on real things. I think people read this book because as women, we can side with the girl. We know what she's going through. And because the way the book talks about her experience, her emotions, everything that she went through, you can feel it being in her shoes. And not only does that help sympathize and empathize with the character, but building that sort of inner strength within yourself and like knowing that she will get to the end of it. I don't know, it's a very dark story, but I feel like there's a reason why people like this book. If I were to read this though, I might want to read it with a friend, like buddy read it, or else reading it alone, it would just be too dark for me and kind of mess me up a little bit. So yeah, that's book number 2. Book number 3 is The Immortalist by Chloe Benjamin. I am definitely getting this book now that I've looked it up, and it's so interesting. I cannot believe I haven't read it. So yeah, here's why. The story is a historical fiction that talks about 4 or 5 people. Simon, Clara, Daniel, Varya. Am I missing anybody? Okay, 4 people. All in the 80s. So Simon is searching for love in 80s San Francisco. Clara is a Las Vegas magician, obsessed with blurring reality and fantasy. Daniel seeks security as an army post 9/11, and Varya throws herself into a longevity research where she tests boundary between science and immortality. So these are all idealists, I'm presuming, all 4 of these people. Because they're so different and where their lives are, I feel like because of these multiple characters, it's gonna be a multiple POV sort of book, which I like. I like being able to get a 360 viewpoint on a story, It just sounds really cool. I really want to read it now, and I can't believe it. I've never heard of it before this. So you know what, Anya Taylor Joy, good for you. You've got variety with book choices, and you've got really great ones so far, so we'll see if the rest can top that. The next person on the list is Blake Lively. I chose her because I've had a massive girl crush on her since Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, so that was a long time ago, has been a long time ago. It wasn't the hardest nor the easiest to find the books that she's read. She's got a few solid ones, but I think I've only listed 2 of them. And the first one is The Myth of the Nice Girl. The Myth of the Nice Girl by Fran Hauser. Just by the title alone, I know I'm gonna love it. It's a book about women. Essentially, it's about women empowerment and how it sucks that we are taught by society to be quiet when we don't need to. We don't have to be apologetic. We don't owe anybody an explanation. We don't owe anybody to be nice. This book talks about breaking that barrier and breaking that stereotype of women needing to be a certain way. I feel like these books should be what is easily found in school libraries. These are books that young people need to read, young people need to know about, educate themselves with, because we're living in a world where a lot of crappy stuff already going on, and so it can feel very hopeless sometimes. It can feel very draining, but these little things can really bring you back up. So I think this is a really great book. Next is called The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls, and it is the story of a family with a tale of unconditional love, which is very sweet. A family that, despite their flaws, tries their best to get through life with determination, and at the end reaching success in their own terms. And what I get from this book after reading a few things about it was that everybody has their own terms of success. It could be wealth, it could be togetherness, being a wholesome family, and perspective is what gives you the right understanding of success. I'm not going to go too deep into that and be all philosophical about this, it will take too much time. I like that it starts off as a family, because I think books about family, whether if that's like actual family or found family, they're very comforting. They warm you up. And I think that because the story centers with a family that has been through life and struggles and a lot of trials, but still persevering through, it's a great lesson to learn from any book really in a time like this. But yeah, it's a great recommendation. Definitely something that's not normally in my forte, but I'm glad I learned about it and know about it now, and I will read it at some point after getting past through all of my other TBR that's waiting on my bookshelf as of currently. And next we go to the Black Swan herself, Miss Natalie Portman. I don't know why, but she gives me that vibe of like super educated, fierce woman that takes over the world, sort of. Also maybe because she's Padme from Star Wars, so maybe that was like, I don't know. She always seems to play like characters that gives off that fierce woman vibe. Good for you, by the way. I feel like her choices of the characters that she plays in film represents the kind of person that she is, and also the books that she reads. For example, we've got Hope in the Dark by Rebecca Solnit. This book draws from her decade-long activism and education on environmental, political, cultural history. And she discusses about how positive consequences don't just come immediately. A lot of good things take time to show, which is something that as people we don't like hearing. We like hearing that, okay, good things can happen immediately. You're gonna get this instantly. For her to be talking that results take time to come to the surface, that's that's different. That's not what society tells us these days. It's a book about life, really. I think I need to read more books like this because words of encouragement, you know. If you don't feel like you could get any from people around, you might as well could just read a bunch of them. So yeah, Hope in the Dark, Rebecca Solnit. This next book piqued my interest because of so many reasons. It's called The Waves by Virginia Woolf. Now, Virginia Woolf is an author that I have heard of so much about, but never got to read anything that she wrote because for some reason I've just been so intimidated by her writing. I don't know why. After researching this book, this book is definitely on my TBR. So it talks about 6 characters dealing with the death of a beloved friend. She talks about how they dealt internally, individually, and as a group. To write something like that, you have to really come from a very vulnerable place, which I'm not very comfortable with much, because being vulnerable means showing your weaknesses, showing your fears, and showing the things that makes you fragile, the things that make you human. And nobody wants to be human. Everybody wants to be superhuman. Everybody wants to be strong and capable and independent. So to be talking about 6 people dealing with grief in their vulnerable state of mind, they are needing other people to cope, because being vulnerable and alone isn't really the best match. So yeah, I'm very drawn to this narrative, and I feel like I could learn a thing or two about being human from this book. Last one, we have We Are the Weather by Jonathan Safran Foer. I picked this book because it's a lot deeper than just talking about the global warming and the horrible state of our surroundings, but also how our choices as people determine the future outlook on our lives. You know, everyone's so focused with the economy these days that we forget to care about a lot of the other things that comes with life. That's a pretty easy book to talk about, in my opinion, but I think until you read it, you could really have a pretty long, deep conversation about just what you thought you knew about what's happening around you, and turns out you're missing out on a lot of stuff. That's the last book in Natalie Portman's list. Last up, we've got my favorite Stark family member, Stark sibling, favorite young version of an X-Men, and that is Sophie Turner. If I can plea to be her best friend, I would from this video, because I'm obsessed with her. She's hilarious. She's got that kind of humor that's dark and sarcastic, and I think she's super cool, and I would like to be your best friend if you're watching this video, which is very unlikely, but hey, it doesn't hurt to try, right? Okay, so I've got 2 books from her. First one is The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. Okay, 2 things. First one, I was surprised when I saw the author's name was Heather Morris, because the only Heather Morris I know was the actress who was in Glee, which is a show that is a long-time obsession of mine. And 2, this book is a trilogy. I didn't know that. Well, the more you know, you learn, right? So, okay, it's a trilogy that tells the story of the concentration camps in Auschwitz, obviously, during 1942. But the first book centers a character named Lael. I will put the name right here because I don't know how to say it, right? He's a Slovakian Jew who is forcibly transported to the concentration camps, and then he met a prisoner with the number 34902. Yeah, I would not remember that. And then revealed in the book with the name Gita. It's funny because I have a friend named Gita. And in that first encounter, Lael vows to somehow survive the camp and marry her. I like historical fiction. It's a hit or miss. Some books do it well for me, some books just don't. But I have faith in The Tattooist of Auschwitz. I think if I did try and put an effort to finish a trilogy, I will actually like it. So yeah, that's the first book on her list. And then the second is Writers and Lovers by Lily King. I love the concept of this book. It talks about Casey Peabody, also, I love that last name, post her mom's sudden death. And she arrives in Massachusetts in 1997. No plan with her life. And she is a former child golf prodigy, and now she is, well, rebuilding her life from scratch essentially. And she's also working on a novel that she's been trying to get done in like the past 6 years, which that's a long time, but it's fine. It does take time to get something great happen, right? It says how like all her friends have let go of this dream that she is now pursuing, which is a determination to live a life of the creative arts. And so she's now in her 30s pursuing the creative arts. She meets these two guys and they change, well, they play a role obviously in this whole self-rediscovery journey, and she fights to fulfill her creative dreams and ambition whilst also balancing life and being an adult and needing to fulfill responsibilities, to feed yourself, put a roof over your head. It's literally a story about anybody going through life, whichever point you are in. You can be successful and still be questioning what you're doing. You can be still figuring out what you're doing and think that you're not even going anywhere. This book encapsulates all of the issues of just anybody wanting to be great at what they love, and the challenges that comes with life, the challenges that comes with doing new things and pursuing new careers, rebuilding yourself from scratch. That takes a lot of time and that takes a lot of effort and patience. I think again with the whole self-discovery sort of trope, a good read for maybe a break whenever I do decide to switch from the fantasy fiction that I just got recently back into. All of these books, again, I will eventually read, but again, I have so much that I haven't read, and book mails that are still coming, but Book Depository sort of has this thing where it's sort of lagging, and so everybody all over the world are still waiting for their books, myself included. That is the end of today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching and sticking until the end of it. I hope you guys all have a great day or night whenever you're watching this. If you've heard any of these books or read any of these books, comment down below, let me know what you guys think. I think that all those books that I talked about earlier were all amazing for all their different reasons, obviously, concepts, storylines. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it, and don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell right next to it to be informed, alarmed whenever I post a new video every week. And I think that's it. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!